Traders, how are you doing? Ivan Delgado, market insights commentator at the Global Prime Forex. Today I want to bring to your attention one of what I personally believe to be one of the best indicators free of charge that I have come across for quite some time. The indicator, if we come here to indicators list, it's called news.calendar. You can actually find it in the description box. You can have access completely free of charge where you will be able to download it. And I just want to provide you a little bit of a brief summary on what this indicator is all about. Okay, now as traders, you should understand that there's going to be at times minefield. There's going to be stumbling blocks in the form of sudden volatility in the market, because we are going to have high impact events, and at times even medium impact events are going to influence the pricing of the currency that we are trading in the very short run. Now, if you want to be given a constant red flag, a constant early warning as to what are the events that are going to be coming up in the near future, this is the perfect indicator. Now, in my personal opinion, number one, this is one indicator that is going to act as a time saver. In other words, you don't really need to be constantly looking at the economic calendar, but rather you're going to have all these vertical lines being displayed in the chart. Number two, is not going to be as messy. It's kind of like it unclutters the amount of information that other economic indicators are showing in your chart. So here, what gets to be displayed is simply the vertical line. Now, there's also a trick as part of the settings, which I'll show you in a minute, where you can just make this a very fading light color line. Therefore, it's not going to be actually so confusing when you draw trend lines or rectangles and whatnot. Okay. Now, also on top of that, what I wanted to mention is if you actually come here at any vertical line and you click on it, immediately, let me just move a little bit the screen, immediately you will going to be able to see what is the economic indicator that comes next. In this case, since I am clicking at this next vertical line, it is telling me that in the next few hours we're going to have the German ZEW carrying conditions, the economic sentiment, and this is categorized as a 3-star event. In other words, this is going to be most likely a high impact event in the euro against the US dollar. Okay, now that being said, what I want to show you, I want to walk you through the settings real quick. Okay, now what I recommend personally is that you leave this one blank, so you don't want to mess around with this first few indicators. Now the first one the first few settings I should say. Now the first one that you want to consider assigning a 2+ or a 3+ is this one, filter by volatility. So essentially, if I click on 3 stars in the chart, there's only going to be the high impact events that are going to be shown, either the previous ones up to 96 hours, or even I think you can go as far back as 5 or even 10 days. Test it out by yourself. And also you're going to be given the next events in the next few days. Okay, this is something that, as I said, you can tweak around in the next field. Here you can see hours ahead and hours behind. Okay, now there's also a field that is going to allow you to select what is going to be the time interval that you want the chart to be updated. Essentially, this indicator is going to feed data through from investing.com, from forexfactory.com, and I believe they might even include another calendar like fxtrade.com. I'm not quite sure, but what I've noticed by using it for over a year now is that they are extremely accurate in all the events that are going to represent an upcoming risk for the currency of your choice. Remember that if instead of the euro against the US dollar, you were to select the GBP against the US dollar and you leave these fields, the first 3 fields blank, then you are going to be automatically assigned the events of the currency pair that you have selected. In this case, you're going to be given the events of the UK economic data and the US data. Okay, so there's little work that needs to be done in that front. Now, it's also important that the server time gets to be set correctly. In the case of Global Prime clients and Global Prime MT4 platform, we are using GMT+2. Therefore, what you want to make sure is that you come here at the time. Give me 1 second. So you come here at, you just want to extend this currency quotes panel and make sure that you check your time, and from there you're going to be able to then select what kind of GMT standards your broker is using. In the case of Global Prime, as I said, it is GMT+2. Now, if you want that there is a limit in the number of time frames that are going to display this information, you can actually just decide that these are going to be vertical lines that will be displayed up to a certain time frame. In my case, H1. Okay, you will notice that if you're going to be displaying these events in H4 in the daily, given the compression of data that gets captured in one single day, and the events that are part of that day, it's going to be very messy and it's going to defeat the purpose. Okay, now display symbol names, I would definitely leave this as on. Text position, I find that bottom is the optimal position where I want to see these events. Text size, you can just mess around a little bit with it. So essentially, if I were to select 10 in here, you will notice that the text gets to be increased a little bit, and as I click, I notice that this is not a text that gets to be increased in size, but rather it's maintained in the same order. Okay, so let's continue. Horizontal offset 8, I would not touch this. And now this is one that I'd recommend you adjusting based on the color of your charting. So essentially, if you're going to be using a dark background just like myself, I would definitely go for dark as the color scheme. Notice that if I select light, I will get these lines much brighter in color. Okay, it's going to be much more obvious, and the reason that I don't quite like it is because it gets more confusing for me to identify the proper and the correct size of the wicks. Okay, and if I start adding a few lines in between the upper size and the lower end, etc., then it's going to not be as intuitive for me to eyeball the levels and to really define the size of each candle. Okay, so what I want to do is come here, and as I said, you want to select instead dark, and you will still be able to visibly spot when is it that these events are going to take place, but it's going to be much more clear, much more neat, and it kind of like gives you that fading color so that you actually superpose the candle, the price action, but on top of that you're still very much well aware of when these events are coming up. Okay, and let's see if there's anything else that I would point out that's relevant. Alert method, you can even actually set up an alert if you want to. When is it that the alert is supposed to be to go off, like 5 minutes ahead of it, 10 minutes, and then you can just decide what kind of sound file are you going to select for that alert. Okay, so that's about it. I believe that this is an indicator that will make the life of some traders out there much easier. I believe that this is, as I said, also an indicator that will help you to safeguard yourself in terms of those inevitable risks that are going to be coming about. And let's just face it, at times as traders, we're just going to be so focused on price action, so focused on looking for those opportunities that we might actually ignore these risk events. However, by actually being, by having these vertical lines in the chart, we will be immediately alerted as to when these events are coming about. One of the things that I've done over the years is to identify what are the areas where I've been actually making the most mistakes and try to work on those areas so that I can kind of like eliminate to the bare minimum those mistakes. By just eliminating mistakes, it just keeps sticking to your hard rules. That can make a huge difference. One of the mistakes that in the past I kept repeating is ignoring the news events. Okay, and whenever that's the case, think what you're doing exactly here. You're essentially kind of like, for a temporary period of time, your edge is no longer present in the market because you're going to be exposed to volatility. So if you enter a position based on a specific technical pattern and an entry trigger, and then it is literally just ahead of an event, then you're going to be, at the mercy of that volatility led event. Okay, so what I would recommend is that you add this indicator in your charts, and that then you have subjectivity. You make it personal to decide which events you want to be paying attention, which events you are going to let the market decide what's the direction. And it really depends on your personal makeup as a trader, but I would suggest that this is a win-win indicator that you want to have attached in your chart. Okay, And that's about it. If you like these videos, if you find that the content that I provide has value, don't forget, like this video, share it around, make some comments, and let me know if you actually came across any indicator when it comes to economic news that would be as helpful as the one that I'm sharing today with you. And remember, if you want to download, if you want to access the indicator, in the description box, that's where you can get your hands on it. Okay? Until the next video, it's bye from me. Cheers.